All right. What's going on? I just wanted to cut myself off and interrupt real quick. It was my first time doing an intro and it felt a little choppy, so I wanted to do it again and just be a little more clear. So I know the title of the video was installing heat wrap on your tanks or something along those lines. I still haven't titled it yet. But I also want to just explain what the channel is, since this will be my first time ever posting. My name's Evan Dvork. I'm a professional photographer, videographer based out of Baltimore, Maryland. This channel is going to be focused a lot on photo and video lessons, time-lapse, which is my favorite. We'll also focus a little bit on freelancing, starting your own digital marketing company, and of course, all the vlogs and adventures that are going to take place within the RV, which is what you're going to see. So I will cut back to me a few days ago installing the heat wraps. Right, so I don't know if you can see this, but it has this like cardboardy kind of material underneath. So I'm going to try to remove this and see what we're working with. So there's two screws that way, which I probably won't film, but they're just that way. And then it looks like it runs through these bolts here too. So I will start taking this off and I'll let you know how that goes. It's day 2. I figured it was easier to just kind of go through this after the fact as opposed to as I'm going through it, because it's a little challenging. So we're inside. So just to show you where we came in from with the electric, you actually have this port right there, and there's these plugs on it. And let me see if I can find it here. So this is filling in one of the plugs. There we go. So all you do is take some pliers. It pops right out, which is great. Able to run the cabling through there, up, under here. All you need to do is take this up, and then I did button some of this up and realized I should probably explain what happened here. So take this up, open here, 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 and here. Then it pops the screws out. This thing comes open. This top piece of wood comes up, and then I was running the cables through here. And then the positive leads coming from underneath the van came up and over and into my switch. Then I took a positive lead, fed it underneath. So I took this drawer out, really simple, under and into the fuse panel. So to access the fuse panel, you just take this drawer out, and then if you could see in there, let's turn this up there is where you can access the back of the panel. So I was able to get in through the back, and then I wired it into one of the openings down below, which is this one right here. I used a 20 amp fuse to connect everything in, put it all back together, and then I ran a negative from the bus bar that's in here, and you'll see when you take this off, there's a bus bar that runs along the side. There's an opening, and then I ran that negative to the switch as well. All right, I'm going to close this down. Let's take a look underneath. Also, just a quick note, a pretty obvious note too, make sure you kill your battery while you're working on stuff. So in the sideways battery position, just to make sure that's disconnected just before anything electrical and any other wiring stuff is taking place. All right, we're obviously working with some limited space here, but as you can see, the pad is on the black tank, or I'm sorry, this gray tank. Your black tank actually runs up and underneath. Then I have all the positive feeds coming in and connecting, and then running towards the back of the RV to connect to the ones that are lining under the water tank. But it's also pretty much the same there. So I took these elbow joints, wrapped them to make sure they stay warm, connected everything together, and then I ran all of it in one single cable to the back, and then I grounded it, if you can see right here, to this nut, and I took all the ground, letting it into one wire, and grounded it right there. Same thing in the back. It might actually be easier to see, but I did 2 mats in the back, and water volume wise, you probably don't need to do that, but the tank is shaped so weird, I did it to be safe. It should be fine. And then you can see the positive wires coming from the front to the back, all connecting together into one wire that came down from where I showed you inside, and then again grounded them right there. So the white wire is all grounded to the same area and then wrapped underneath the tank. And that's pretty much it. The most annoying thing is removing this plastic piece and then getting it back up. I still need to do that to finish things off. I wanted to just film this part to do one little overview because I realized I didn't film every single step as I went along. My thought was that if you're going to take on a project like this, that you probably have some kind of idea on the electrical involved. You might have done a similar project, or you at least feel comfortable with wiring. If you are unsure of any of those things, I did link a couple of videos below that showed them in more detail. I did want to show it on this kind of RV since I know teardrop RVs are getting a little more popular, and I just kind of wanted to break it down and show what it looks like going into an RV of this size as opposed to maybe a bigger one. All right, so start to finish, and I'm just going to kind of fly through these since you sort of already saw it. Undo the bottom part that drops down, whatever that kind of protective layer is, and I will say that part was horrible. Putting it back up took forever, so just be sure this is something you really want to do before you attempt it. It just took a long time, and you definitely need 2 people to put it back up. It was a nightmare. So once you drop that down, you can access the tanks. When you see the tanks below, be sure to clean them off and then adhere the pads to the bottom. I just peeled a little bit of the layer off the bottom of the mat, stuck that on there, and then slowly peeled and pushed at the same time, and it went right up perfectly. It stuck really well. That was the gray tank in the front was first, and then I took the red wire from the gray tank and I spliced together a longer cable to that red wire. So then you run the red wire from the gray water tank straight to the back. In my case, I ran it along the driver's side right to the back where the freshwater tank was. And then I put 2 pads on the freshwater tank, which is probably overkill, but our freshwater tank is shaped a little weird. I just went for it anyway. I connected the 2 freshwater pads, red wires together, and then I took that wire and connected it to the gray water tank. So essentially I made 3 wires into 1 wire, which I was going to use to connect inside the RV. So inside the RV on the right side, there was this port that's used for the Aldi system, and it had an opening, which I showed earlier. Once you pulled that little rubber plug out, I was able to drop the wire through, which was still attached to the spool inside. Drop that wire through, hooked all 3 of them to that 1 wire. So now I had a way to get a positive wire to where I was going to mount the switch. So it wasn't cold enough to trip the temperature gauge that's in the mats. So the mats turn on at 40 degrees or under 40 degrees and turn off around 60 degrees. So I wasn't able to actually test the mats heating up, but what I did do was use a voltage meter to make sure that there was power running to the mats. So that I confirmed there was power, and then I started pushing everything back together, lifting up that bottom part and bolting it all through to the bottom to keep that protective layer on. Again, that was a huge nightmare, but we did it. We got it done. If you have any questions about this install, leave them in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them. And also check out the other videos that I linked. They helped me a lot in the installation of this heating pad. Even though it was a different RV, I was still able to relate what they were doing to my RV. If you found this video useful, be sure to like, subscribe to the channel. There's going to be a lot of photo and video lessons, time-lapse lessons, things like that. Of course, there'll be a ton of travel videos as we take the RV out finally for the first time. I'll see you in the next one.